All right, let's get right into it. If you're learning English, you already know that speaking can feel like the final boss, right? It's not just about knowing the words and the grammar, it's about having the confidence to actually use them. So today, we're going to pull apart the biggest myths that hold us back and build a totally new, much more powerful way of thinking about speaking.
Does that sound familiar? You know, that little voice inside your head that tells you, hey, you're just not that type of person. You're not outgoing enough. It's a feeling so many of us have.
And then, of course, there's the comparison game. You hear someone else, maybe a native speaker or a really advanced learner, and they just sound so effortless. And you start thinking, man, I'll never get there. I just need to be faster. Or maybe this is the one that really gets you. That sudden panic when your mind just goes completely blank on a word you know you know. It can be absolutely paralyzing. Well, what if I told you that all of these thoughts, as real and as powerful as they feel, are all built on myths? See, a myth is just a story. It's a false belief that we've kind of started to accept as true. But here's the cool part. Once you can see these thoughts for what they are, just myths, you can start to take them apart and replace them with something much more helpful. So let's bust a few, shall we? All right, first up is the big one. This is the idea that some people are just born confident speakers and the rest of us are not.
We tend to think confidence is a personality trait, that extroverts just have it naturally. But the reality is, confidence is a learned skill. Anyone can build it. Introverts and extroverts just operate differently. Extroverts often think out loud, while introverts usually like to think things through before speaking. And that's not a weakness, not at all. It's actually a strategic advantage. So how do you use that to your advantage? Well, you lean into it. You embrace your natural tendency to think first. When you take a moment to prepare your thoughts and use pauses, you're not hesitating. No, you are being a thoughtful, clear, and powerful communicator. Okay, let's tackle our next myth. And this one causes a ton of anxiety. It's the belief that speaking super fast is the same thing as being fluent. So many learners try to rush their words, but real fluency has absolutely nothing to do with speed. It's about clarity, it's about rhythm, it's about being in control of what you're saying. Honestly, speaking too fast often makes you a worse communicator, even for native speakers. You stumble, you make more mistakes, and the other person can't even follow you. You want to know the most powerful tool for sounding fluent? It isn't speed, it's the pause. A good pause gives you a second to breathe, to calm down, and to think about your next word. And it gives your listener time to actually process what you just said. It's how you stay in control and make your key points really land. The goal is always clarity, not a race to the finish.
Now, this next myth is a sneaky one. It's that fear of making a mistake, all tangled up with the fear of having to admit you didn't understand something. The myth of perfection is so destructive. It tells us that confident people are flawless. But the reality, confident people aren't perfect. They just have better strategies for dealing with setbacks. They know how to recover from a mistake, and maybe most importantly, they are not afraid to ask for help. In fact, asking someone to repeat something or explain a word isn't a sign of weakness. It's a total sign of strength. It shows you're actually listening, that you're engaged, and that you care enough about the conversation to get it right. It shows you're a great communication partner. And for those moments when you do make a mistake, don't panic. Just remember this super simple recovery plan. First, just pause. Then, take one deep breath. This literally breaks the stress cycle in your brain. From there, you can either quickly correct yourself or just move on. Seriously, no one will care. The key isn't being perfect, it's knowing you can recover. So now that we've busted all these myths, we can finally get to the most important truth of all. And honestly, this changes everything. Just let that sink in for a second. We think we have it all backwards. We think we need to feel confident before we can act, but it's the other way around. Confidence is the result of taking action. Action is what creates motivation and progress. This right here is the engine of confidence. It's this amazing, powerful cycle. When you take one small action, you get a little bit better. That small improvement starts to shift what you believe is possible for yourself. That new belief builds real, genuine confidence. And that confidence is what motivates you to learn and act again. You see, the whole thing feeds itself. You just have to get it started with one action. So if taking action is the key that starts the whole engine, where in the world do you begin? Well, the trick is to start small. I'm talking about low-pressure actions that just get the wheels turning. You can start with literally zero pressure.
Just talk to yourself in English while you're making coffee, or listen to a podcast and try to summarize it out loud when you're done. Or maybe you take a slightly bigger step and find just one person you trust to practice with, or you join a friendly online community. The point is to just find a safe way to start that cycle.
And in the end, it all comes down to this simple question. I want you to forget about this big, scary goal of being confident for a minute and just focus on doing. So what is one small, totally manageable action that you will take this week to start turning that confidence cycle for yourself? Because that single step, that's where your whole journey really begins.